Want to hear something really cool? So, the fact that you don't have free will means that you can do anything that you want. Check it out. Hey, so in the intro, I said that because you don't have free will, that you can do anything you want, and that's it's kind of a catchy thing to say to suck you in, and you're watching this, so maybe that worked. But what I want to do actually is kind of unpack that idea, because it's one of the most fundamentally important ideas of our time. And it's one of the foundational ideas that I want to talk about as I go into a lot of these other subjects that I want to unpack. So what do I mean by the fact that you don't have free will, so therefore you can do whatever you want? And the arguments for and against free will are basically, in my Christian background, it was predestination versus free will, or in secular circles, it's predetermination versus free will. It's the same language, they just put different words on it so it doesn't sound Christian-y, right? But the idea is, from the Christian point of view, and imagine the other Abrahamic faiths, is that there's actually a scripture verse that says, where Paul said that your life is written out for you. And the idea was that your life is kind of like a novel or a play that you're acting out. And they get that idea from there because it's like your life from that perspective is kind of like a movie. It's like a DVD. You put it in, you watch it, you see how it goes, and you're the main character in that life. And it's just kind of flowing out and you're going along with it. And what's interesting too, it's a little bit twisted, is some of the way that they use that idea is to justify that some people are going to go to heaven and some people are going to go to hell. Because in the idea of predestination, you don't really know. And from an evangelical point of view, they almost use that as a justification to not be out frantically knocking on doors all the time. Let me unpack that a little bit, because I think it was, who are the magicians, Penn and Teller, the big guy who talks? He was talking one time about Christians and how he doesn't really trust them, because if he was a Christian and genuinely believed that people he knew and loved were going to burn in hell for eternity, he would be frantically knocking on every single door, everywhere, to convert everybody he possibly could with every last morsel of energy that he had. And in his mind, and to my mind, and to a lot of people's minds, the fact that Christians don't is a pretty good indicator that they don't actually believe in hell. Because if you actually believe in hell, and you actually care about anybody else as a human, and you actually had proof that hell was a real place, then you'd be scrambling all over the place to just convert every single person ever, right? To make sure that they never went there. But nobody wants to do that kind of work. It's a big pain in the ass, right? So what the evangelicals have done is they took that one verse and they took this concept of predestination and said, well, some people are just, predestined for heaven and some people are predestined for hell. There's really nothing you can do about it. You go out, you do your evangelizing, you talk to folks about it, you knock on some doors. If they come, they're great. If they don't, oh well, nothing you can do about it. I guess they were predestined for hell. And that's how they justify that in their mind. And that's the Christian, Abrahamic, specifically Christian perspective on that. It's a little twisted. In the secular translation or idea behind predestination or predeterminism, is that basically if you did the math and you knew the position of every atom, right, that's flying around through the whole entire cosmos, and you knew where they had been, then you could predict where they're going to be going, right? Or you can look at, Sam Harris makes a really good argument that, if you look at your culture, your ethnicity, your genetics, your diet, your, all these other sorts of factors that go into, who you are, then those are going to determine your behavior. And those are going to determine how you think about things and how you react in certain situations. And therefore, because you flopped out of a cooter somewhere on the planet here with the genetics that you have and the culture that you have and the history that you have, you can't do anything about that. So you just are what you are. So good luck to you. And I didn't like that either, because the way that I interpret that is it's kind of a classist argument, right? It's like, you were born in a poor family, you're born in a poor black family, you're born in a poor white family, you're born in a poor Asian family, you're born in the jungles of Namibia or wherever, then sorry, you're kind of screwed. That's what you got. And it just doesn't make any sense to me, because I've seen there's countless stories of people that were born into just abject poverty, into horrible situations. There's one dude that was born with no arms and no legs, and he made the most of his life, So neither argument really does anything for me. They don't really work for me. But trying to be rational, if you look at the argument for predeterminism, the math bears it out. There's nothing you can do about it. The math indicates that it's true. It's true. These are your genetics. This is how epigenetics works. This is your culture. This is all the things that you've got to work with. And what are you going to do with that? Right? So, in a way, you kind of don't have a choice based on that. But in my view, because I tend to look at the world through a non-dualistic point of view, I look at that and I say, why can't it be both? Right? So check this out. If it's true that God predestined you for, your life here on earth, or if it's true that, the Big Bang happened however many billions of years ago, and the atoms swirled out and stars exploded and blah, 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 and, along comes you, right? There's matter comes together, coalesces, and you are now there watching this through your eyes and hearing it through whatever mechanism you're using to hear it. And there you are. Now, the math says that if we could look at all those particles that were flying, then we can make a pretty good guess about where you're going to go. If we looked at the genetics, we could know what's going to happen. If we looked at all these other sorts of things, then we could easily predict with a reasonable high probability, is that the word, what's going to happen to you next, right? And I guess that's sort of true. But you're still in there. And you're still thinking, and you're still acting, and you're still listening, and you still have this sort of like a feeling, or at least a perception, that you do have free will, right? I can like lift my hand like this, I can pick my nose, I can pick your nose. I can't really pick your nose, but you know what I mean, right? I can have that creative interaction. Now, I know some people would say, I don't really have that creative action because those impulses are coming from somewhere way down deep in my brain, and they're coming out, and it seems like I'm just doing things freely, but I'm not really, because it's a weird impulse and there's time differences and like all that other kind of crazy shit. But here's the thing. Because of that, because of even the perception of free will, what that means is that you can just do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about, well, I came from this ethnicity, or I came from this country, or I came from that place, or these are my genetics, or I have this dysmorphia, or I have this, genetic disposition, or I have like whatever the thing is. Fine. Okay. But you know what? Based on the logic of predeterminism or predestination, based on that logic, whatever it is that you choose to do is the thing that you were predetermined to do. Whatever it is that you choose to do is the thing that you were predestined to do. So, do it. Just do it. Do you have, if you're sitting there and you have an impulse and you want to go to a protest, or you want to go become a physician, or you want to go, whatever the thing is, pick a thing. I don't care. Whatever the thing is. If you have an impulse to do it, and you do it, then that was predetermined. That was your predestination. That's the thing that you're supposed to go and do. You see what I mean? So, essentially, you can boil it down to the fact that we don't have free will means that we have absolute free will. In a weird kind of way. And I know that terminology doesn't work, and it kind of messes with your head a little bit. But really, why not just pick that ball up and run with it? Right? Because the way that I see this is that you've really got two options. You can either say, what was me? What are you going to do? Can't really do anything. Can't change anything. Can't change who I am. Everything's predetermined. Can't change my genetics. Can't change my skin color. Can't change my whatever the thing, my economic situation. Can't blah, blah, blah. And you can do that. You're more than welcome to do that. And I can make an argument that if you do that, I said do. If you do that, that's what you're supposed to do. So go be the best at it. Go be the best defeatist that you can possibly be. Go be the best nihilist that you can possibly be. Via con Dios. Have a good life. Being dull and boring. You do that kind of stuff. It's fine. Some people have to do that. Right? We have to have people in the world who, do that. We gotta have that guy. Right? Did you ever hear that Bill Burr bit where he's talking about, traffic and whatnot, and we just have too many people, and he's driving along and some guy cuts him off. He's like, why do we need more people? Like, we've already got that guy who does that kind of thing. Like, we don't need more of that guy. Maybe we do. I don't know. It's none of my business. But I want you to think about that. Predestination, free will, all that kind of stuff. When you hear all these debates and people get so serious about like, no, you have to have free will because I can do whatever I want and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, okay, great. And then other people are saying, no, everything's predetermined and the math bears it out. And yeah, okay, whatever. The truth is, they're both right. They're both completely right. That's one of the most important things to figure out in life. It's one of the early lessons that the sooner you figure that out, the sooner you can stop wasting mental energy on ridiculous questions like that and go and live your best life. And that's what I want for you. I want you to go live your best life. Stop worrying about stupid questions. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time. I did that for you, so you don't have to. Anyway, so that's your boring with dad lecture for today. Hope you're doing well. I hope that you are finding peace and fulfillment, enjoying your life, and that you're being kind, and that you're acting through love and compassion. Yeah. Try to be that kind of person today, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Make sure that the choices that you're making are grounded in love. And you'll find deeper satisfaction out of that. More about that later, though, okay? Love you much. Take care. Bye.
Wow!